What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about everything PC gaming related. I am one of your hosts, Germ Gaming, and tonight I am joined by the smiling, creepy face of Collide, otherwise known as Daniel.
Hey, guys.
And we are joined by Dave, the not-so-evil Viking 13.
Man, you forced my intro that time. Well played.
I did. And then, taking up the coveted middle spot on Skype, it's Joel. Right. So, welcome to the podcast, everybody. We have an awesome show for you tonight. This is probably gonna be our most normal show in a couple weeks, just because we've had vacation and not having
the Moonshine cast was 100% worth it.
Not having main topics. Yeah, Joel, my wife and I were listening to the Friendcation cast when we were
the moon cast.
We were listening to the Friendcation
Yeah.
when we were driving somewhere, and we were both laughing because you say like the weirdest things for no reason. You're just like, you're sitting there, obviously you're like, wait, is everybody? Wait, what's going? I'm warm.
That's one thing got me is when you were staring off into space, Joel, and then you just very thoughtfully, the rest of us are all chatting. It gets quiet for a second, and you just hear Joel introspectively go, "I'm warm." It's like so.
Now, to be fair, to show how much I appreciate you guys as friends, my worst nightmare is actually being really drunk. I just don't ever want to do that. So that was a huge deal for me to do that. And I was I'm feeling weird.
I'm feeling giggly.
Joel, what might concern you is an infant could drink that much Joel beer and drive a car legally.
Okay, that was the first time ever having moonshine. So I went from 0.3% of whatever the Seagrams and Mike's Hard Lemonade or whatever it is.
3%, and you went to something that was 20%, which is still really wimpy. Wimpy, not to make fun of you. Wimpy as far as moonshine made in a real still.
I think it wouldn't have been as bad, but I had three. I had 2 hard lemonades, and then I had the Seagram. So it's not a lot, but still, that was the most I've ever had. So you may drink 7 a night and be okay with.
Whoa! I don't think so, sir.
You drink to just from the woes that your YouTube channel has just so many subscribers, so much less than Dave. You're gotta do something. Gongs and gongs.
Those insults are on point. Unrelated things. I'm thirsty.
Oh, whoa! Are we doing this thing? Are we all drinking at once? Wait! My coffee.
Stay with me.
We begin this podcast with the same way that we begin several podcasts, which is the news.
It's news time.
Oh, I missed you, Joel.
That's new.
Our first.
I forgot to do the timer. Dang it! It's sitting right there, and I forgot the timer.
Joel, I just don't.
Did you start it? How long have we been?
Let's just call it 5. Man, you're gonna have to go back and redo all this, aren't you?
Yep. It's over, Joel. You missed the timer.
Let's call it 5 minutes. We'll call it 5 minutes. Just start at 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right. First news item. So the Oculus Rift, which Joel says he's getting soon, has a very cool game coming for it. Pacific Rim Jaeger Pilot was unveiled at San Diego Comic-Con, which is going on this week. Now, if you were thinking, what would be an awesome game to play in the Oculus Rift, I think being able to play as a Jaeger pilot is probably pretty close up there. If you could get that and 2 power gloves on your hands, so you can be in the stream, the drift, so you can be in the drift. How awesome would that be?
That would be really cool.
We don't really know anything else about it, but it is going to be on Unreal Engine 4. It's going to be a small game. It's not going to be a big immersive experience. Well, it's hopefully going to be immersive, but it's not going to be a huge thing. It's being developed in-house by Oculus, and it's going to put you behind the wheel of Gypsy Danger when it's fighting the knife head kaiju, which if you haven't seen the movie as many times as I have, a lot of that probably won't mean anything. But
and Unreal 4 means probably physically based textures.
And James says I'm kind of quiet, so I'm going to go ahead and boost up my mic volume. So, whoa, that's peaking. I'm going to go ahead, guys, I'm just going to turn that mic volume down. How's that? That's peaking all over the place, isn't it?
I can hear you okay. It
Like
doesn't
you
sound
sound
like
about
you're
the same on here, but I think it's
Okay.
just only through Twitch.
Skype will change it some. Tell you what, guys. Dave, what's the next news item?
Let me switch to one of my many tabs and look.
No.
I feel like I'm the one that should be able to talk about this next one.
Oh no, the next one. We're definitely
Yeah.
we're definitely getting the Joel perspective on this next one.
Yeah, for this next
number
news
2.
item, I'm going to pass it over to Joel.
Since
Joel.
I played both of them, I haven't finished the second one because
as long as you put the time in, you can do
I
whatever
know
you want.
it says 5, 6. Now I got to do math.
Not very basic math.
I've got to put the. I got to add 2 minutes. Okay, Knights of the Old Republic 3. Obsidian was just talking about it. I was read an article, and pretty much every 3 to 6 months they keep bringing that up. Like someone brings up, hey, we should do Knights of the Old Republic 3, or what could we do with that property? They all are very excited to do something with it. So nothing's actually official, unless you guys have new news than I. But the last I read was that they're excited about it. But they said because Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 weren't really huge smash hits. They're not like nothing like Call of Duty or nothing. So it's very hard for them to get just funding to make that game because it is more for it's a niche game. But man alive, would I love to see Knights of the Old Republic 3 because I played a little bit of the Knights of the Old Republic or Knights of the Republic, the MMO, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it's just for a game that massive, you just can't have the type of storytelling as you can have in a smaller 50 to 60 hour type of game. Like it's going to be all over the place. You know, some stories are going to be great, some of that, and then you just have, because it's an MMO and it's meant to be a 300 and 500 hour game, or like through years of playing, they want to be able to have things that you have to grind away on, and it takes a long time to upgrade. But without those inhibitors, I feel like a game, just a single player game, or maybe you can make it co-op. I'd love co-op, but shorter game, just a storyline. Like seriously, Knights of the Old Republic 1. I'm so glad that James kept on telling me to play it. I tried it 3 times. I couldn't get into it. But in the 4th time, I finally got onto it just because it came out on the Mac, on the App Store. And it was just like, I don't know, I was playing on the PC and I was like, couldn't get into it, but I was on a trip. So I was like, I'll put it on my laptop. I played through it and I got past about 4 or 5 hours in the game because it's a little wonky and some of it doesn't work.
I've gotten 2 hours in 3 times and quit every time.
Dude, just get a little further. No joke. Like all of a sudden the combat. Yeah, seriously, stay with me. The combat becomes fun. You understand like the mechanics of it and the storyline. I've never ever had a better storyline than Knights of the Old Republic. That is right there at the absolute top of all storylines. And after that is Half-Life 2, and then like BioShock, things like that. We're just like, holy crap! No, seriously, Knights of the Old Republic.
Wow.
The lore is incredible. Like it's incredible. And there's a twist that happens at the end that I seriously was just like, my jaw dropped. Like it was like, if you thought the BioShock twist was like, whoa, that's really cool, this one's like, holy mother of God. Like it's amazing. It's really like you would never suspect it, and it was badass. Like I was like, oh my gosh.
Don't worry, Joel, you're not overselling this at all.
I thought the twists in BioShock and BioShock Infinite were both kind of lame.
You didn't like the original BioShock 1?
I saw it coming from a long way away.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't. So I guess I just wasn't.
It's probably one of
never
those things like it just happened to pop into my head. It could have popped into anybody's, but like
James, he's using his pants drop.
But I mean that's the same thing with like The Prestige. Spoilers for The Prestige. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. Go watch it. Have you seen it, Daniel?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, cool. The big twist of The Prestige. About like 45 minutes in, I was like, "Hey, wait a second! I bet you." And then I was like,
I threw that one out too.
Yeah, but a lot of people I've talked to are like, "What?" But I think it's just if you've seen enough movies, if you've played enough video games, some stuff you just kind of you start to pick up on it.
One thing I didn't figure out. Only thing I figured out was the Christian Bale part. I didn't actually see the very, very last end.
Okay.
I was like, no way! Like that was cool. Yeah, that's my favorite Nolan film by far. But anyways, that's exciting news if they start making that, because that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and just to be clear, there's no plans to make one. They just have said that, we kick it around every couple months at the studio. We're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could make this? Which, never say never, but Knights of the Old Republic, especially after the not success of the Old Republic MMO, another Knights of the Old Republic game is probably a ways off. Although, if these new Star Wars movies do pretty good, then and Star Wars turns back into a massive cash cow, you know, probably anything's doable. But I think it'd be cool to see like Star Wars become a big cultural tour de force again. I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready to get really geeky about something like that again. Like,
I mean, you already committed to coming down here for, or we all go and see it at IMAX and just midnighting it.
Hey,
I
have a real IMAX screen 20 minutes from my house.
I will travel there. We will travel there.
Not one of those theaters like a big screen with a loud sound system. No, this is like the planetarium style thing, or the giant amphitheater with the curved screen. And like,
dude, we're doing it.
They have a sign that says 12,000 watt sound system. I'm like, that's acceptable.
Yeah. Joy already knows. She wants to do it too. Like, we want to be out there for like the 6 hours, just waiting in line. I can't wait.
The best thing about
talking with Star Wars fans,
unless they've changed it, the tickets are still like $8 or $9. We went and saw the Avengers at midnight for $8.50 a ticket.
Wow.
But we made the mistake. We didn't get there in time to get like good seats, so we were all the way over on the side in 3D. It was kind of like, what's happening? We had to go see it again in a regular theater just so we could. Oh, cool! This is a good movie.
A really quick, short midnight Star Wars release story. We waited outside for Phantom Menace, like all night long, and that Anyway, so it was awesome the first time. I was like, I think it was 12 or 13.
Yeah, when you're like,
it was amazing.
12, you're like, this is so good.
Dude, pod race scene in the theater. I don't care who you are. That was badass. So we're sitting there. There's a younger kid that was with us, a friend of ours from our church. He was like maybe 6 or 7, and he was out there all night. Get in the theater. We're like, it just about started. We had waited like for another 2 hours sitting in the theater seats. It started late. It gets on. We're like so excited. Everyone's cheering. The kid falls asleep. He falls asleep the entire time. So we waited there for like 20 hours and then fell asleep. He was on the news the next day. It was like, kid falls asleep during Star Wars premiere. And he was like,
he must have been so mad.
He's like this on the screen. It was so funny.
There were people like that during the midnight premiere of The Dark Knight Rises. We got there like 2 hours ahead of time. We had the best seats in the theater. Like, we're all raring to go. And then, so people like little kids, who brings their small child to a midnight showing of a movie on like a Wednesday? It was a Thursday evening. It's like, seriously? But
going back to the fandom thing real quick, Joel, you sent me that video, like the behind the scenes thing. Like, it was like a little promo for Star Wars, and they filmed it next to like a full size X-wing prop, and the pilot comes out.
Not rustle your jimmies.
My jimmies were. That's not the correct use of that at all. But you know what? Let's just go with it. You rustled my jimmies, Joel. And then at the end, when the logo popped up and that theme song kicked in, I had like a middle school flashback back to my stacks of like Star Wars like expanded universe paperbacks. I'm like, I'm ready to go back. Just dive into the fandom full force. I'm gonna full force.
Ooh.
You know the new X-wing they showed off, right? So the whole conspiracy is like, well, it doesn't look like it has 2 wings, like they separate. The S-foils or whatever they called. And I was like, that's going to be one of the baddest, like the coolest moments in the whole movie is when Luke gets into that sucker and he presses a button and all of a sudden the wings just go like this. It's gonna be, it's all over. Like that's
Luke leaves his walker. And a droid picks him up and sets his frail body inside the X-wing.
Mark Hamill is younger than Liam Neeson, and he is still kicking ass. So
really,
dude, Mark Hamill's like 9 or 10 years younger than Liam Neeson.
How old is he then? Because Liam Neeson's doing really well for his age.
Liam Neeson's like 66.
Okay.
And Mark Hamill, I think, is 59.
Man.
Yeah,
Liam Neeson's killing it for.
It's people who are like always in movies, like they kind of stay in better condition, But
or like Sylvester Stallone, you just keep doing the steroids, you never get old. You're just like a giant piece of hamburger. Like,
you get near it, it like sucks the youth out. Like, oh god!
How did I go against Joel? Can someone just loop that like 2 seconds into a gift? There it is.
All right, our next news item. Areal, the supposed spiritual successor to the Stalker series, which Dave was super excited for about an hour until the truth came out. Well, I say the truth came out. That's not being fair. Strong evidence came out that Areal was most likely a scam.
It's either a scam or the world's least prepared developer and most ambitious at the same time.
So the name of the developer is West Games, and Kickstarter suspended their Kickstarter campaign. So in an interview with PC Gamer, the founder, Eugene Kim, answered a couple questions. So the PC Gamer asked, hey, why did they cancel your project? And they said, well, they just send you a standardized letter that gives you a couple possible reasons for why it might have been suspended. They don't have time to tell you exactly why yours was suspended. And then so PC Gamer asked, okay, so something very suspicious people have been talking about later is a lot of big donations came in that pushed them over the top for their Kickstarter. Like a, what was it, $10,000? Yeah, a $10,000 and then a $5,000 pledge. And the kind of the rumor was maybe the developers did that just so they would get some of the other money, and they basically would just pay themselves that money, but they could get everyone else's Kickstarter money and not have their Kickstarter fail.
Yeah.
Now, so they asked them, what they said was, you know, they said they got two big donations, one for $10,000, one for $5,000. They came from Russia and were both first-time backers. And West Games says, now this is after their Kickstarter was suspended, they said they can't say for sure, but according to Eugene Kim, he says he thinks they weren't real, and if the Kickstarter continued, they probably would have retracted their pledge at the last second to cave the Kickstarter, which does happen. He said on their second day, a guy named Ivan pledged $10,000 and then retracted the pledge. Because you can pledge whatever you want and then just cancel it before the Kickstarter and possibly like tank somebody's Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's very possible, you know, like the evidence is strongly stacked against them, but we don't know for sure. So giving them the benefit of the doubt, someone was possibly scamming them, or they were trying to scam everyone else. So now they're doing crowdfunding directly through their website, which doesn't offer the same buyer protection.
It's just PayPal buttons.
Yeah, it's just basically a PayPal donation. Now, PC Gamer said, given the controversy surrounding your use of Stalker assets in the Kickstarter campaign, i.e. you used assets from another game to promote your game, why are you using the Stalker trailer to promote Areal? And then he said, well, we have every right to use Stalker footage for our trailer because we worked on Stalker.
That's not how copyright works. When
Well,
you're working for an employer,
Yeah.
there's certain limitations. Like, it's one thing to put that in your portfolio and say, this is work that I did, I can do similar work. It's a different thing to say, I'm going to create a spiritual successor to Fallout because I worked on Fallout some. And then you show 10 minutes of footage from Fallout.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different there.
Yeah, so, I don't know, Dave, what's your thoughts on this? Or anybody, what's your thoughts on this?
I know we talked a lot about this before. I think I'm actually leaning now less towards the it's a scam. I think it's just a really unprepared developer that had ambitions that are way too high, that maybe just wanted to get started and then go elsewhere for funds. But at the same time, I'll admit that all of the evidence looks incredibly sketchy and that nothing that they were doing looks legitimate. So it still could be a scam, in my opinion.
Hey, do you remember that one time when I was like playing devil's advocate, but they could just be terrible, like at making advertising and doing that.
And planning and making games and making websites and
But there's plenty of those people who have businesses that are legitimate, so you never know.
People that all they understand is the business side.
Yeah, like they maybe just, we know how to make a game, and they're just not great. I mean, that's tons of people. Yes, Joel, that's an animal cracker. Eat it quietly, please.
What is this daycare?
Yeah, I know.
it's snack time.
But yeah, there's plenty of people who are super talented, but they never really achieve success because they don't know how to present themselves, and it could just be that. So, who knows? But for whatever reason, here we are. So Titanfall is getting another update. They're introducing an Update 5, which is coming out on July 31st. It'll have some daily challenges and a couple bug fixes. And then there's going to be a black market. You'll be able to use in-game credits to purchase burn card packs and insignias. You will not be able to use real-world currency. They were very emphatic that they said no microtransactions from the very beginning. These are not microtransactions. You earn these credits in-game. You spend them in-game. It's just the same as like leveling up in Call of Duty. No real money can be involved in this. So, you know, you can complete matches, complete daily challenges, sell burn cards, get the first victory of the day, whatever. And yeah, you can buy and sell packs of burn cards and all kinds of other things. So, Good on them for trying some new stuff. I mean, who knows if it will make a difference. Titanfall's player base is slowly eroding, but you know, it's a fun game. The matchmaking has just kind of been a persistent issue they haven't really been able to figure out. But I think it's still a good game, and I think it's got the potential for like Titanfall 2 to be really amazing. But for now, that's what's coming.
2 cents on that.
Yeah.
I just kind of barely heard about that. I didn't even look into it because I just didn't care. But it's funny. I think I'm definitely at the point where I'm like, I'm just not a huge fan of multiplayer games anymore. Or like, I just don't have time for it anymore. Like, it's fun. Like, Titanfall, I think, is a superior game to Battlefield. Like, for the game that I want to play, like, just
superior
polished,
Battlefield 4,
just works well. Yeah. At least, 4. Let's say 4. But it's like, man, it definitely goes to show. It's like, I just like, I don't know. It's like playing against random people. Like, yay, I beat you. It doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, it's fun when we're all playing together because it's like, if you win, like, I just beat my friends. But like, if we're not all playing together, it's like I just have a hard time playing multiplayer games in general. That's why I like co-op games. It's not really about like who beats each other. It's just about, I don't know, like a single goal. I think that's more fun. Because I used to like, it's like I used to be totally into those games. I'm like, man, it's awesome. I can't wait to get really good at the game. But it's like, it doesn't matter however good you are. You're not like in some top game level or anything. Like, there's always some guy who's from China somewhere that's like 360 triple no scoping you. With his fists.
His fists?
But sounds like DayZ, actually.
It'd be awesome if you actually could get a scope for your fist. Dang it, I'm looking that up right now.
Not a red dot, just right there.
Yeah. Red dot scope for your fist. Like, it's got to be someone who did a image.
Is it like a glove?
What? No one? No one's made this?
How has no one made that? Yeah, Daniel. I think it'd be like a glove, and then you just kind of like sew a red dot into it.
Put like a silencer on your fist.
The silencer is just a big foam pad on the end with metal on the end of it, so it still hurts, but it's quiet. Well, that's an idea probably no one else has taken. If you want to go ahead and get that idea going, you know, you might just be able to capture the tactical fistwear market.
Yeah, as long as you call it tactical, someone's going to buy it.
Or tactical fisting. All right, next news story. Crysis 3 lead producer Mike Reed has left Crytek. That ordinarily wouldn't be a giant news story by itself because people leave places all the time, but Crytek, who for a while looked like they were going to be a major player in the game engine, the game engine people, and unfortunately it looks like they're having severe financial trouble. Crysis 3 was not the success that a lot of people thought it was going to be, and it probably wasn't because Crysis 2 wasn't the success a lot of people thought it was going to be, and that's probably because it wasn't nearly as good as Crysis 1. But Crysis 3 didn't do that well. And then they made Rise, Son of Rome, and that didn't do that well. That was an Xbox One launch exclusive. So there are reports that a lot of the staff are being underpaid or they're not being paid on time. 30 staff have left voluntarily since 2011. Like, they seem to be bleeding people at a pretty constant rate.
And you heard about the whole Homefront thing, right? Or did you already talk about that last time?
No.
I mean, because Homefront is being developed by Crytek.
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean,
so, like, that's another huge reason, like, is the game even going to come out? I'm sure they're going to push it out somehow.
They say that...
It's your favorite phrase, Joel. Why?
They've assured people that all their current games are still in development, but, you know, we'll see how things go. I mean, what studio was it? The people who do...
what game?
Saints Row. The people who do Saints Row. What
THQ?
THQ, yeah. THQ was saying, like, everything's good, nope, everything's fine, and they just wrote it all the way out to the end, and then one day they said, yeah, guys, we're bankrupt, we're being sold, sorry.
I bought stock in them a day before that came out, too.
Oh, my goodness, really?
Because it plummeted, yeah. It was just for fun. I bought, like, just a few dollars worth just for fun of it. And, yeah, that didn't pan out so well.
Did it go back up at all, or was it just disappear?
Actually, you know what? No, what I did was... it got me interested, so I bought in Blizzard. So my Blizzard stock has gone up, but I I watched the THQ stock plummet though, and it actually bounced back because they had a humble bundle, and this was probably a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it kind of bounced back up, and then it just died off. So
that sucks. Your grandchildren aren't gonna be able to count on that THQ stock money.
No.
What's a video game? I have video games in my brain.
So, the Steam beta for the Steam OS has an updated image of the Steam controller buried somewhere in the files, and people have picked it apart. And it looks like, I mean, they've been doing revisions of the Steam controller, which is to be expected. It hasn't been released yet. And they have a mock-up that gets rid of the buttons on the left side and adds an analog thumbstick. So you have the 2 big trackpads, analog thumbstick, and 4 directional buttons like on a typical controller. So it seems to be like an even more interesting combination of a controller and a mouse setup. So that could be kind of cool. You know, I guess we still don't really know what the Steam controller is going to look like when it comes out, but it seems like it's getting to be more like a normal controller, just with the addition of the 2 giant touchpads.
I really like that they added the little analog stick. I think the one thing, though, might have a hard time is the PS4 and Xbox 360, like, for years, what they like making them kind of symmetrical a little bit. You can have people who are left-handed, right-handed. You know, like if they for Xbox, I use the left stick to move, right stick to aim. You know, I guess you don't have that option on the new Steam controller now, because I'm sure the analog is going to be more for moving too as well. Like to have the option, because I can imagine. Well,
they said for pretty much everything, you're going to be able to rebind everything because it's a PC.
No, that's
game.
that's true, but you're not going to be able to use your left hand to do.
You can't rebind the position of the analog stick.
Yeah, the analog stick's only on the left side, but like if they had 2, I think that would have been awesome, and buttons, but I guess it's a little...
Well, I think they wouldn't be able to do 2 analog sticks, the buttons, and have those touchpads, and I think they're really banking on the touchpads being significant. Which, I mean, there's been mixed early impressions of them, but it is an early controller. But some people have said they thought it was really, really good and way more accurate than a normal controller. So it really could be something cool, but we're just not going to know anything.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely take a long time to develop. I mean, gosh, the Xbox One, forget how much money they put into developing it. Years and years to develop those things. Because I mean, you're selling a device that's hopefully going to be selling for years and years, and it's got to fit everyone, every type of hand. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you got to be able to play. Your hands can't cramp up that much. You know, the triggers.
I mean, it's even got to fit Jeremiah's monster hands, and that's going to take some serious development.
They don't make them for those kind of people because they don't consider them people. They're just monsters of the world, and that's what we're pitchers.
I'm sure if he adds enough padding, he can get that grip on there. I'm sure his thumbs can reach the sticks. I mean, who are we kidding?
My thumbs can always reach the stick. All right, moving on. I don't know what that means.
Joel, that face.
So, Project Legion's been announced by the developers of EVE. Now, the developers of EVE created Dust 514, which is a PlayStation 3 only FPS set in the EVE universe. The idea was people could be playing this competitive multiplayer FPS, and that would affect the EVE universe, which is a PC only MMO, which has no FPS elements, and it's basically like Excel, the space simulator. But some people really like it, and EVE is kind of like a second job.
Spreadsheets is a fun game, okay?
You're a coder for a living, Daniel. I don't know if we trust you.
Tester, okay. No, actually, we're finally talking about something I have heard of. Hey, I am the epitome of a casual gamer. I haven't heard of half the stuff we're talking about tonight, so... But this I have heard of. I'm actually surprisingly excited about it. I played EVE, the trial, for probably 3 months. And never really saddled down and put down $15 for enough ISK to actually create an account, but I enjoyed it. It was really fun, and I think the thing that finally sold it for me to not join was that I just didn't have any other friends that were playing. But what this and what is it called? I've forgotten what this is called. Is it the latest EVE
Project Legion.
Legion.
Oh, that's what it is.
See, this is how much I pay attention. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But what they're planning on doing, and maybe you want to take point on this, Jeremiah, since you've got notes in front of you and I don't, but they're taking another stab at the Dust 514, where they wanted to incorporate into the EVE universe like military combat, shooter combat, which is something that Dust tried, and I don't think it really connected as well with EVE as it tried to and wanted to. What they were really aiming for was to take advantage of the EVE universe and the very beautiful economy that EVE has, but they just never managed to seam it together. They're going to try something a little bit different with Project Legion where they create their own base economy in Legion to begin with before they tie it into Eve. And so they'll have two stable economies before they actually try and smash the two together. And hopefully with that technique, they'll actually be able to create two stable environments before they try and merge them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard is like, I think they ran into the issue of the PS3 not really being powerful enough and enough FPS people being on it who were willing to try this for it ever really to take off. But by doing it on the PC, they can get people who like Dust already, people who are familiar with Dust, to basically try this reimagining or relaunch of the Dust 514 idea. And then just a little more polished. I guess they have 2 more years worth of development and ideas and stuff they're putting into it. And you'll be able to buy gear with ISK, trade things, all kinds of different stuff like that. So, I mean, they made it sound almost more like Planet Side mixed with Dust. So
yeah,
we don't know much yet. They're really just trying to get people hyped for it right now. But I was excited about the idea of Dust 514 because I'm never going to play Eve just because of time. But you know, something like Dust would be cool to like be a part of the Eve universe. Like when once a year or so, when those massive Eve battles go down, where like hundreds of thousands of dollars of real money are lost in people's giant ships because someone does this big heist and then 10,000 ships jump into the same star system and murder each other. Like it'd be cool to be some small part of that on the ground as a soldier. So yeah, I mean we don't know a ton about it yet, but I think the idea is cool. I thought it was cool when Dust 514 came out, and I'm excited to see what they do. Dave,
what's up?
As the only person here who's really extensively played Battlefield Hardline, what do you think about the news that Battlefield Hardline has been delayed?
I like it, actually. I mean, I've been talking a bit on my channel about Battlefield Community Test Environment, Battlefield 4 CTE, and the changes that are happening there in a much faster pace, including changes that people have been asking for to problems way back to Battlefield 3, like, you know, changing icons for when you like revive somebody or somebody's on the ground dead. There's now like a timer that goes around, so you can see like I don't have to sprint over to this guy to revive him. I'm not going to make it. There's no point sprinting over him. Stuff like that. You know, they're increasing the pacing of the changes for Battlefield 4. So I think giving Hardline more room to breathe can only be a good thing, for sure. Because I like the direction that the series is going. Finally, like I feel like they're actually listening and taking the time. And what excited me about the Hardline delay specifically was that they said the thing that really changed their minds about their launch date was the #1 complaint about the game was it's too much like Battlefield 4. Like, it's not a bad game necessarily, it's just very similar. Like, you have this cops and robbers theme, and you're just barely scratching the surface. It's just cops and robbers, like a kind of a mod for Battlefield 4.
Right.
And a big part of their delay, they've said, is to step back and use more elements from that theme in the game and make it stand out as a cops and robbers game, and not just a new take on Battlefield 4.
Yeah. So, ideally, this would result in Battlefield Hardline being a Battlefield to get excited about again. Like, Battlefield now I feel the same way about as I feel about Call of Duty. Like, I used to love you. Baby, why you hurt me so bad? Why'd you let yourself get fat? That's kind of my relationship with Battlefield. It's like, you used to be so hot. And now all you do is eat ice cream and sit on the couch and watch Pretty Little Liars and cry about stuff and pet the cat, and I just don't love you anymore.
Whoa. We're going down a dark road here. To be fair, though, I know that you've been hurt pretty badly, and I, for a lot of this spring, had kind of put Battlefield 4 aside. You know, especially last few months before the the netcode patch came out, I had almost stopped playing entirely. But the game is improving. For a lot of people, it's too little, too late. But let's not forget that it is at least, you know, improving. And I'm having fun in Battlefield 4 again for the first time in a long time.
I applaud them for trying to make things better, but yeah, I think I'm at it's too little, too late unless it's really, really amazing. In which case, sure. But right now, I'm kind of at too little, too late. But I'm totally willing to have them blow my mind and make me want to buy it again. So.
I think for Battlefield for me, or the Battlefield Hardline, like, oh man, I really don't see myself buying it other than the fact that I like getting new games. So that would probably be the only fact. But
You American. I just want to spend money on things I don't need.
I don't watch like TV. I just don't watch TV or stay up with a lot of shows. Like, I mean, I will watch Breaking Bad and those kind of things, but like that's it. I can't sit still for that long. Like unless the show is so freaking good, like True Detective or something. So games is my entertainment. That's what I like. Games and audiobooks. I love those. But I love Payday too. And so if I were them, I would say slow the combat down a little bit. Don't make it so freaking fast. Make it more tactical. And I wish the respawning would have a much longer time period of respawn and stuff, so that the people who are pulling out the heist, it's a little bit different. Because I love how Payday 2 is about reviving people down there instead of respawning. I wish it was reviving instead of respawning in that game, because you just show up randomly and all of a sudden it turns into a deathmatch, and that's what I think is boring with the new game. Is that it's just like, yeah, you spawn, it feels exactly like Battlefield 4. It's just hectic craziness. But this could be really fun where you're actually like making your way through it. You know, we're like in Payday 2, if we're trying to make our way to something, like it's fun like exploring through the area and then finally getting to that part. But in Battlefield 4, I could suck right at the start and then respawn and be at the main goal at the end. And it feels like, oh, I didn't actually do any of the really fun stuff like driving the car or doing the heist or anything. I didn't have to help anyone. I could just shoot guys for fun of it and then just spawn where I need to be. Like, I think it'd be cool if you actually had to just revive the people, but I don't think they'll change that. But
yeah, no, actually, Joel, that is one direction they're going to change it. Less explosive and less of like a frantic pace. Even in Battlefield 4, a patch came out for CTE today where they tripled the amount of time it takes to get new grenades from an ammo box. Tripled the amount of time.
That can only be a good change.
They'd already doubled it in like an earlier stable Battlefield 4 patch. So now, compared to launch, it's like 5 or 6 times the amount of time that it was at launch to get new grenades. And at this point, unless you're going to spend almost an entire minute next to an ammo box, you only get the one grenade in Battlefield 4. And for the types where you get multiples, like multiple flashbangs and multiple of like the mini frags, now it's 2 instead of 3, and like they're just really cutting back on all those explosives.
They need to just get rid of the freaking grenades. Just have only one person have a grenade. Like, if you're an engineer, you get
a dedicated
one
grenade guy. You're running up to the front. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have it. It's right here. It's right here.
It's like get the fuse out of it for no reason, like hissing like an old dynamite. Actually, Joel, that's a good idea for Hardline. Have like an explosive specialist class, and he's the only person who has any grenades at all. Everybody else can only do like non-lethal grenades, like flashbangs or something.
See, like that's why I can't play Battlefield 4 with you guys. Like, I'm just not young like you guys anymore. I can't experience all the generating checks, and it reminds me back being in the war. So I can't experience anymore.
All right,
youths.
Okay, old man, we'll get off your lawn.
Dave, we want to take this next news story?
Yeah, let me switch tabs again. Yeah, Debbie actually sent me this one. There was a rumor back in May that Google was in talks to buy Twitch, and apparently IGN has 160-some sources saying that today the deal was confirmed, that Google is buying Twitch.tv.
How do you feel about this?
Googlezilla owns my soul, I guess. I don't know. I feel like Twitch was just getting started, and now we'll never know if they had a certain direction that they were going to take things, or
like gaming television.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I mean, what was that? Remember, what was it the game that was just on ESPN? The Dota? No, not Dota, but something like that. The MOBA games or whatever the crap they're called.
Yeah.
I honestly think in the next 5-6 years we're going to be seeing like video games is on ESPN more, and that honestly kind of scares me. That actually honestly scares me, because I love video games. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we need to be doing that. Like, I just feel like that's, gosh, we're just getting into weird territory. Like, no one's ever going to leave their freaking houses. We're just going to be all a bunch of freaking nerds. And it's just going to be easy for the government to just swoop in. They're going to be like, oh, you got a gun? I can, but I can barely lift it because all I do is click.
I don't know if we're talking about the emergence of esports or being locked in our houses anymore. Is this a conspiracy theory? Or what are we talking
There's like a gun comment in here somewhere. I'm not sure where Joel's going with this.
I'm going to take a moment to go political with it. So net neutrality is a bit of a hot topic right now. And, you know, YouTube is kind of the man, you know, when it comes to online video. Not the man in like, you demand, but the man in the man. The man that a lot of people don't like. And YouTube started out as there was like Google Video, there was all kinds of different places that hosted their own video, and none of them worked well. All of you young kids won't remember this, but like
all the players were awful.
Yeah, 2002, 2003, your internet sucked, and you were watching it in a sucky slow computer on a sucky web browser in some sucky Flash video.
And that was back before Flash was hardware accelerated, so it was just like your brand new dual-core CPU being clogged up by Flash.
So all video players sucked, and then YouTube came out, and it was just two guys who were like, hey, we can make a better video player. And they did, and it worked really well. And it caught on, and it started gaining traction really quickly. And it blew up and became the world standard, pretty much, for online video. And it's not perfect by any means, but it's really good. It's certainly the best large video site ever. And then Google bought them, and they kind of became part of the man. And Google used to not be the man. I'm like, Google was just a small punky startup that quickly became one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And the issue with net neutrality is like, so Twitch is kind of like the punky startup, you know? Mm-hmm. They have done online video streaming in a way that YouTube was never able to get right. Even like Google Hangouts just don't work that well. And Twitch does have issues every once in a while, but it overall works much, much better. And it's just kind of a better experience. And now if they get bought by Google, they kind of become part of the man. And the problem with net neutrality is, the idea of net neutrality is no matter who you are, your traffic should get equal consideration as anyone else's. And the problem would be, let's say someone looks at Twitch being bought by YouTube and says, ooh, you know, now that some people aren't going to like Twitch, and Twitch might get better or might get worse, or who knows, I think I could make a better Twitch. I have the knowledge how to do it. I have some ideas of things that Twitch could have done better. I make a better Twitch. Well, if Google is paying money, extra money, to make sure that their content moves faster, which their content is a significant portion of the internet, so it would kind of be in their best interest to do that if it was all about them. Unfortunately, they're very on the side of net neutrality, so at least for the time being, we don't have much to worry about with Google necessarily. But the idea is, then, if they were paying more to get their content delivered, it wouldn't matter if my idea was better than theirs. My idea would get choked out by their not as good idea just because they had more money. And that's kind of the bad thing about Twitch getting bought, is it might make Twitch better, but it also might make Twitch worse, and that's still kind of unifying things into more of a monopoly than they are right now. I would have liked to see Twitch stay independent and just kind of push YouTube forward on stuff, but, you know, I mean, money is money. How much money are they talking about buying it for? Has that been talked about?
Let's see if the article says... no exact amount, but it says probably more than $1 billion.
Oh, I would say it has to be at least more than $1 billion.
Yeah.
But like, if that was me and I created Twitch and someone offered me $1 billion, I'd probably say, yeah, you know what, you have Twitch, I have 5 other ideas I want to work on. You know, yeah, I'll take my $1 billion and go find somewhere to be happy. You know, it's like,
yeah, oh no.
Talked about before with Oculus. Like, yeah, whoever intentions they started out with, Facebook offered them $2 billion. Like, there probably aren't many people in the world who would go, yeah, I'd rather just have my idea, thanks. I mean, $2 billion is nice, but no thanks. I wouldn't like to have more money than I could ever figure out how to spend. You know, so I can understand why they would want to sell. I wouldn't hold it against them. All right, up next is mail time.
Mail time.
It's mail time.
Wade wrote into the podcast, casualshenanigans@gmail.com, just like you can, to be a part of the show. And Wade said, hey guys, Wade from Oklahoma here. I'm a relatively new listener. I started with the Dark Souls 2 podcast. I've really been enjoying the show. Thanks, Wade. I have been wanting to upgrade my computer for a while now, as I built it a few years ago. I plan on replacing everything, but I have to do it one piece at a time. His current main specs are AMD FX 4170 quad-core, which is clocked at 4.2 gigahertz. A Radeon HD 7850 graphics card, 8 gigs of Corsair RAM, and an Asus Sabertooth 990FX motherboard. He plans on getting an i7 3770K, a Sapphire VaporX R9290, 16 gigs of DDR3 2133 memory, but he says he's not sure if it would help, so this is definitely optional, and any advice you guys have on it would be appreciated. And then he says he has nothing picked out as far as a motherboard upgrade goes, so input would be great here as well. He said, my main question is about the order in which I do the upgrades. I have no clue which to do first. Also, if I'd be better served by choosing a different processor or video card, please let me know. Is there any hardware coming out soon I should wait for instead? As far as budget goes, I'd prefer to keep my video card under $450. This is the main reason why I chose the AMD card over the 780. The 3770K is pretty much right where I want my processor price to be. Thanks for any advice you can give me, guys, and don't worry if I end up hating my setup, I'll place all the blame squarely on Joel's voiceovers. Joel's shoulders. I looked at Twitch chat and said voiceovers at the same time.
That was awesome.
All the blame
Man.
squarely on Joel's shoulders. So, just to recap, he has an AMD quad-core, a Radeon 7850, 8 gigs of RAM, and an Asus Sabertooth motherboard. He wants to get a 3770K, an R9290, 16 gigs of RAM, and no idea on a motherboard. What would you guys recommend?
How's that CPU looking for AMD? I'm not super familiar.
It's a very basic quad-core for basic computing tasks. It's awesome. For gaming, it's bad.
Okay. Would you recommend a platform shift to Intel or a upgrade in that same socket, do you think?
It looks like he wants to spend decent money, so I would say shift to Intel. If he's doing video editing, like heavy video editing, there could be a case for getting an AMD 8350 because you can drop it into the same motherboard, and he has one of the best AMD motherboards there is. He could drop it into the same motherboard and have 8 cores, and it would certainly be very respectable for gaming. So something you could consider doing, Wade, is just get like a 8350 or an 8320 and overclock it, and just use that instead of like a motherboard plus that processor is going to be $450 at least.
Yeah.
You could keep your motherboard, buy an $180 processor, and have honestly 80 or 90% of the performance. Especially if you overclock it, you could have pretty much equal performance to the 3770K, and just ride it out for another 3 or 4 years until there's a huge major Intel shift, and you can move up to like an Intel octo-core for $300 or something.
Yeah.
I would heavily consider that unless all you do is gaming. Maybe it's worth it to you. But even if you just did gaming, an 8350 is still a pretty good processor. And especially because you can drop it into your motherboard. If I was him, I would upgrade the video card first, unless he does a lot of other work. Joel, can you move your mic away from your keyboard?
Oh, sorry, speaking up.
It's pretty loud, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of overpowering.
I would upgrade the video card first because he has 8 gigs of RAM and he wants to move up to 16 gigs of DDR3 2133. You do not need RAM that's that fast. DDR3 1600 RAM will be totally 100% fine. And if you're mostly just gaming, you don't need more than 8 gigs yet. I would just wait. I don't think there's any reason to upgrade your memory yet.
Yep.
For gaming, you
I
can't
agree.
use it. Honestly, if it was me and I was looking at your exact setup, I would get the R9290. The Sapphire makes awesome 290s. I have a Gigabyte R9290 just because I was able to get it on a good sale for $350, and that card murders for that amount of money. It's faster than a 780, and when overclocked is pretty much toe-to-toe with a 780 Ti in most benchmarks. Some things are more AMD weighted, some are more NVIDIA weighted, so it goes back and forth some. But it's within spitting distance of a 780 Ti. And you can get that for $400, $450. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, Sapphire makes great ones. I would get a Sapphire R9290. I'd get an 8350 FX 8350 processor with a Hyper 212 air cooler. Overclock your processor to 4.5 or 4.8 gigahertz, and you will have almost the exact same performance for games as you would get if you bought all the rest of that stuff. And you could do this upgrade for $600 or less.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Not
that's
bad
what I
at
would
all.
do. And then just ride out. This processor will be good for at least another 3 or 4 years, unless you're doing
Ride it out. Ride it out. Whoosh, come on. Come on, Bullseye.
I'm not really sure what to say.
Ride on to the next technology. It's the only thing I can add on this.
That works.
That's literally the only thing I can add on this whole top.
Thanks, Joel. Back to you, Jeremiah.
No, that's what I would do.
Weather's great over here.
I say that as someone, I owned an 8350 and I ended up going to a 3570K, and I did that because I needed the per clock performance. I needed to be higher for stuff. But if I was just gaming, I could have been very happy with the 8350 still. So if it was me and I had your build and I was doing an upgrade, that is exactly what I would do. And if you want any more advice, please ask. If you can find a Gigabyte, the Gigabyte with the good cooler, like the triple fan cooler, if you can find one for like $350 like I did, you want to save some money over the Sapphire, it's probably still an awesome card. And you can probably pick up a used 8350 for like $140 on eBay, so best of luck to you. Let us know how it turns out. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. All right, our main topic. I know, guys, it has been a while since we had a main topic, but we have a main topic tonight. Dave, I'm kicking it straight over to you.
All right.
What's
Dave's
the main
got
topic?
this. I'm prepared.
You are
Is that
prepared.
weird?
You weren't on time, but you are
But I'm prepared. Yeah.
You are, like, you know.
The options were a little bit late with coffee and prepared for the podcast, or on time without coffee and Dave's passed out on the desk.
That's more of just like a bad string of decisions as opposed to like one decision you had to make.
I see it as an either or.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
I've actually been planning this topic for a while, and I was worried as it got further through the year that we'd be putting it back even further. But tonight we're going to do a new round of DayZ predictions. This podcast started in 2012 with an episode that was all about getting ready for the launch of the DayZ Alpha, which would then be a year and, what was it, like 35 episodes, 40 episodes into the podcast. We ended up having plenty of time to work through our thoughts. But here's what's changed since our many previous prediction episodes for DayZ. Alpha obviously came out in December. We're now 7 months into development of the Alpha, and it has maintained a consistent spot on the Steam top sellers list. Like, even through Steam sales, it's been right there at the top of the Steam top sellers list. It looks like our player base is now at 2.35 million copies sold of DayZ standalone here in Alpha, 7 months into development. That's roughly $70 million, not counting Steam's cut.
Which is successful for any game except like for Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, that'd be a failure, but for pretty much any other game, that is a runaway success.
Yeah, especially for, Bohemia Interactive, where until the DayZ mod in 2012, ARMA 2 would sell 400, 500,000 copies and be pretty successful. That was all they really needed. And then, DayZ's here in 2012 with the mod selling, what was it, like 2.5 million copies of ARMA 2? Additional copies, like, boom, out of nowhere. Now they have a successful ARMA 2. Like, that game was 4 years old. That's free money, basically. ARMA 3's done well, and now DayZ itself, which is our main focus right here, has done extremely well. I think Dean Hall was saying he was expecting like 400,000 sales maybe during Alpha, so it's done very well. And what that has done is the scope of the project has changed once again. They're not just going to take that money and stick to their original roadmap. They're going to be using it to expand the scope of the game, improve it, and get it closer to what they would have, like, in their heart of hearts, wanted to make, but maybe couldn't because Bohemia wasn't ready to commit all those resources to it at the time. So we have an official roadmap, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll just email it out to to our mailing list here.
All right.
I want to go through.
I've got to AFK for a second, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, we can actually. I've got some predictions that I can start with.
Well,
but what I'd like to do is,
part of the
before DayZ gets any further down this roadmap, I want to kind of step back and go around and kind of figure out, now that the scope is changing, they have all this funding, the team is now 160 people roughly, compared to like it was 10 people a year ago. What is DayZ going to look like in spring 2015. We're still apparently on track for a beta sometime in spring of next year. It could be anywhere from February through May, somewhere in there, probably reaching beta. Once we get there, what is the game going to look like? And that's the topic for tonight. I have some predictions here, but I'll kind of save mine for last. Joel, you want to jump in first?
Okay. My first prediction is I don't think you'll actually make it to beta by spring 2015, or for whatever they call beta is. I don't have the I've read the roadmap a while ago. I don't remember exactly what their features were. Let's
pause real quick, Joel.
What is the roadmap for beta? Don't worry about like leading up to it. Just what is the actual going to be beta?
Let's consider beta feature complete according to the roadmap they posted in March.
Yeah.
So let's just say
I know they'll be adding things for the next couple of years, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't think they'll get to their feature list by spring. I think they have a chance maybe by end of summer next year, possibly. But the things that I think they might have by spring, which is hopes and dreams, is I hope they add vehicles by spring. And last is by beta, I hope by their standards, beta means servers will work very well. We will not be seeing lag, and we also won't be seeing the delay in reactions from buttons, from switching weapons, from looting inventory, all that. That's going to be gone. That's no more longer it's a thing of the past, and that is including zombies. Like, zombies, I think, have a chance to be in by spring. So, like, really good zombies, the thing that
like
made
close
DayZ.
to what the final form of zombies would be for the retail launch. I think it's going to be there by spring.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, too, I talked about the expanded team and all. As part of the additional funding, they announced that they're ripping out the entire rendering engine from this new version of the real virtuality engine that they're creating. They're replacing the renderer with a DirectX 10 and 11 renderer, and they're calling the new engine Infusion. That is one of those things that without this amount of sales and support behind the game would never have happened. And they wanted to do that from the beginning. Stuff like, flashlights clipping through walls. They knew that that was going to be really tough / impossible to fix with the engine as it was, in December. But I just forgot to mention the Infusion engine as being a part of that expanded scope.
Dave, I want to poke one quick question in there while you're talking about Infusion. Have they toyed with the idea of when they might think that engine is complete, or is it just going to be a work in progress as they go along?
What they've said, mainly through like Reddit replies, and not like a press release, but like just small answers to stuff. It's going to be a Franken engine for a long time. You'll see big pieces show up, like there might be an experimental patch where it's like, hey guys, this is a gigabyte experimental patch because there's a whole new sound rendering part to the engine, or there's a new lighting engine in this build. So we're going to kind of see it fall into place just piece by piece, and then the final product will be the final house, the Infusion engine as a whole.
I just want to draw an analogy for what they're doing right here. As Jeremiah said earlier, I'm a developer, but right now I'm a software tester. And kind of what they're doing right now, and this is how an old boss of mine described it to me, they are trying to change the tire on a pickup truck that's going 70 miles down the highway, 70 miles an hour. They're changing the tire while the truck is in motion. So something like this is not easy. It is a great undertaking. But sometimes you can't stop the truck, and in this case, you can't just stop working on the game and focus on the engine, because something like this, both parts have to be done, and you have to put it on a scale and just decide what percentage of our time goes into the engine and what percentage of our time goes into new features. Because I know a lot of people really want to see, oh, I want this gun, I want this shirt, I want vehicles, and the question is, should they prioritize vehicles or should they repair what they've already got going? So should lighting work, should sound work, should desync be corrected? And
to add on to that, today I reinstalled DayZ and the mod and Overwatch, and I played a little Overwatch just because we're thinking about dabbling in some of that, kind of as a palate cleanser. DayZ's had a few frustrations lately with people exploiting the game, and a lot of our would-be fun things we'd love to show you guys in videos have been ruined by people exploiting the game and cheating. And it's been kind of frustrating. And
lots of toxic people.
yeah. So we went back and I started playing some Overwatch today, and it just amazed me. I guess it's been getting patches this whole time, and I just haven't been paying attention. There was no inventory lag, zero inventory lag, zero vehicle lag. When you press the jump button, your character instantly jumped. Everything just like was smooth and fluid and had that polish of something that's been getting patches for 2 years. And the core mechanics actually worked so well and been buffed to a shine so much that I was having more fun playing that than DayZ, which has so many more features on the standalone, but it's so rough right now in comparison. I was having more fun playing Overwatch, which, you know, barely any of the buildings are enterable, and there's not that much to do, and the graphics aren't as good, and on and on and on and on, but I was having more fun because it wasn't as much of a frustrating experience. So if it was me, I would want them to work on the core mechanics, get the renderer fixed, get the player movement, interactions, pathfinding, like work on all that. I realize that the same people who work on that aren't the same people who are just like adding more guns and new towns and stuff. I understand those people still need stuff to work on. But if it was me, I would want most of my resources going towards fixing the core experience and less of it going to new features.
Actually, I'm going to call Joel out real quick before we go further into predictions on a chat comment. Joel says that since the new engine isn't really new, it's just a hack together of the new and old. Things won't be that much better. It'll take forever still, but hopefully some things will get better. Joel, that's the nature of game engines. One could argue that the IW engine running Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is id 3. That engine...
Oh, no, dude. I completely understand that. But remember, this is DayZ, right? Like, they're using an engine that was not built to make a game like DayZ, right? There was elements that allowed specific things like Yay running around, but there's a jillion other games that have done that, like just MMOs in general. I'm playing Elder Scrolls with thousands of players running around. That game has way less lag than DayZ. So I'm just saying, since it's not like them going, oh hey, let's build an engine from ground up that's made specifically to tailor to. It's not specifically tailored for DayZ. They're retooling DayZ to make it, or like the ARMA engines to make it more to work with a DayZ type game. But I'm saying, imagine you start from scratch. You had a company do that. Obviously, they don't have the time for doing that. But that ideally, that is what they should do for DayZ 2 if that ever comes out. A very retooled engine.
This branch, DayZ's branch of real virtuality, is already so rebuilt. They have ripped out so many entire sections that they can no longer share code base with ARMA 3 at all. They can no longer work with the ARMA 3 team on features because the engine, they have changed too much of it. To go back to Daniel's truck analogy, sure, you start with changing the tires, but when the only thing left is like a piece of the frame by the time that you're done, can you really say it's the same car? I'm sure it's going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think one thing that's bad is that they are retooling the engine, but it is very off the same base thing, which I think is hugely flawed from the start. Like it's going to work, but like I mean, prove me wrong, but I don't think by the even end of this game, it's ever going to feel like, oh man, this is a great feeling game. Now, I don't think it'll ever get to that point. I think it'll always feel like that kind of like there's hacks and glitches that I like even in Fallout, like things happen, but it's like it almost adds a bit of the charm to it. You don't mind, it doesn't ruin the game to it. And even in the mod had some actually good glitches that just added to the charm of DayZ that are
the
great
hatchet
memory.
Reload because it was actually an invisible pistol weapon.
Like it's like that, but the part that don't work is the actual hitting of the melee. Like I don't care if the new mod had these weapons that were weird and you're just using your hands, but if the actual smacking of the zombies were fun and it felt great, I could look past a lot of the glitches. But the fact that we're just so far behind, things are not tactile, you don't feel like you're really controlling your character. I'm like, man, when are they going to fix that? If they're releasing and allow people to play the game right now, that's kind of like what Rust did. Like, you know, they released a game, but now they're redoing it like from scratch.
Exactly. Actually, I was going to bring
That's
up
what
Rust.
I wish DayZ did, though. That's what I wish DayZ would do, like just straight from scratch.
They are doing it. They're just not. Again, DayZ is a big PR problem. They need a real PR person instead of Dean getting up. Well, this is the technical explanation. They need someone who can spin it and sell stuff. Because Dean is not really that guy. He's a software developer, and it's no fault of his. But he's kind of been thrust into the spotlight as he kind of has to be the PR guy, and he's not great at it.
Which means he's been pushed out into the spotlight.
Yeah,
right, Joel?
But, you know, it is kind of frustrating sometimes to think about the stuff that DayZ doesn't have. that such crappy games have, like character movement and melee and stuff that like games that score 4s out of 10 in reviews, games that have those better than DayZ. Like, you think, okay, I didn't think it was, it's 2014. Is it that hard to make a character that can run fluidly around and can hit stuff? Like, that's a pretty basic thing. Like, they say if they rewrite all the vehicle code. There's so many crappy games that have vehicles that work fine. Like, what's DayZ's problem? And part of that problem is the perception of they haven't explained to people properly why their version is so much better that it requires this level of detail. They haven't proven that to people. I mean, I'm not convinced. I understand that ARMA has calculates wind and humidity when you shoot a bullet, but from my perspective, I arc the bullets up a little bit and they hit stuff or they don't. Like, the overall experience for me isn't really improved that much by the added realism. So honestly, I would, and Joel and I were talking about this earlier, there are a lot of game features, gamey features I would love to be added to DayZ. Like, lift them complete, intact from another engine. I don't care. Just get them in and move on. Like, if you could get the melee from Left 4 Dead, the shooting mechanics of Left 4 Dead, and then let's just move on, I wouldn't even care if it was hit scan. Like...
Get out.
Dave, no.
Get out.
And stuff, but if it was
for on your 12 dozen people, Dave, that are for that.
if it was fluid, I would take simple and fluid over extremely realistic and complex and doesn't work that well. Because doesn't work that well is very, very aggravating.
Ultra Crut said big rigs over the road racing. That's the best thing. I would be happy with that in DayZ. You're climbing up the rocks like...
Let's not forget the Warzies developers, Infestation Survivor Story, made that original game. Yes. Big Rig Racing.
Really?
But how is the melee in the War Z?
Actually works really well. It does.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, a really crappy ripoff game has some better mechanics than DayZ. That part is frustrating.
Got great spawning loot. I know all the hacking and stuff, but from my experience, other than the fact that everything was like giant size and you were an ant, I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I played it not too long. Even like Nether is really fun. Like, it's just like, I don't know, like the things work well. The things that you expect to work, they work how they work. It's like, oh, I pressed the letter T to go do something. It works. Like the jumping in DayZ, like, don't even add it in if it looks so wonky and so bad.
Yeah, how is it to press the jump button and your character goes up?
Yeah,
like, is that difficult?
Half the time it works. Like, you press it, won't work. Press it again, it works again. Like, why? Why does it work sometimes and not work sometimes?
It's server verified right now, just as an initial concept.
Why do you need to verify a jump with the
hacking? What they did is to stop the main scripting and hacking that was the huge problem that ruined the mod. Blanket across the board, they made almost everything that the client does server verified, and they're going to go through and change that as development continues. But to out the gate stop that, there's just a lot of server verification that should not be happening right now.
Well, the thing is that just don't put it in. Like, I think DayZ needs to come out in like 3 months, and that's when they start doing testing. Not now, not this whole year of just
and actually, Joel, I'm
crappy features. I mean, it's great being able to play a game early, but it's like, no, just spend more time on it. Get smart people on your project and just make it happen.
If it weren't for the huge following behind DayZ that was already very impatient because of how long the initial alpha took, I don't think the alpha should have come out till the end of this year, because I don't think even until early next year we're going to see all the core pillars of the game. Vehicles, camping, crafting, base building, fortifications, finished zombies, all the guns. All those pillars aren't going to be there until probably early next year. So what we're testing is we're testing the framework of a couple of pillars of what the game will eventually be. And then they keep ripping down pillars and rebuilding them.
And you know what I'm worried about?
What's that?
All right, they've sold 2.3 million copies.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, how many more do you think they're going to sell?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, I don't think they're going to get that much more when it's done.
I think they're going to have a problem.
Oh, hey, it's out again. It's already been out for 3 years.
Let's say it takes 2 years to get to the 2 years from when the standalone alpha came out to release. Let's say it takes that long. Like, how many people are still going to be playing at that point? I've been playing DayZ for over 2 years now. Over 2 years. Am I still going to be playing it in another year and a half? I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to, but why am I still going to be playing it? Like, is it going to be...
Think of the games that are coming out between that, right?
Well, yeah, like if the
GTA
Division's
5,
good, if GTA 5
Destiny,
Online is good, like if all that stuff's good, why would I keep
H1Z1?
if I kept having nights like last night, which was probably, it might have been the most frustrating night of DayZ I've ever had. If I keep having nights like that, why keep playing? Why would I be playing in it over a year? And I understand it's early access, and I like defending early access. I think it's a good model that needs to exist for our modern landscape of game development. But the downside of it is, by the time they've put all this work and finished their game, how many people are going to be around to appreciate it? Or how many people? How many people will have moved on to H1Z1 if H1Z1's better? Or what if Valve surprises everybody and has an open world? Left 4 Dead 3 is open world or something. Like, people like DayZ for what it is, but I guarantee you people will jump ship.
But I mean, it's also like one of a kind right now.
Easily.
You know what I mean? It's also kind of one of a kind right now.
It is one of a kind right now. Right now is the important thing, because while Dean spent a year and a half with a team of 7 people working on it, I guarantee you, not just Sony with H1Z1, but there are at least some other big studios.
Look at Steam Early Access. There's so many clones right now on Greenlight, on Early Access. The amount of zombie open world survival games. Like, I saw one today where it's like, guys, we're not a DayZ clone. It's not zombies that collapse the world. It's robots. Yeah. It's DayZ, but it's robots instead of zombies. It was.
Yeah, there's so much stuff where people are like, hey, I can do better. Like,
because I mean, think of this. I mean, if the game comes out fall next year, if it actually comes out officially, right? Like when will it actually come out officially, Dave? And I guess it really won't actually have an official come out date because it's already out now. So like, there's not going to be a huge switching over between alpha to official. You know what I mean?
Armor 3 had one, yeah.
I know,
like
but it kind of like
a big announcement.
It's a whisper in the wind, though, compared to like an actual official release. But is the game going to look great compared to other games by the time it comes out? You know what I mean? It's decent. It's like any MMO. I mean, like, you don't have to have amazing graphics because once you get sucked into the story and stuff, it's fine. But like other games, whether or not they're smaller or bigger, like it's going to have a huge challenge. And I don't think the player base is going to get that much bigger unless all of a sudden the game, like, he shows off a demo and it's like, holy crap, the game is different. You know?
I've seen actually, Joel. You know, I follow not just, you know, like r/DayZ on Reddit, but also a lot of other news stories about DayZ where it's people kind of outside looking in. I am of the opinion that there are a lot of people who are still waiting for a solid release before they buy it. I'm going to go ahead and predict that lifetime sales for DayZ will easily top 5 million.
I'm going to side with Dave on this one.
Yeah, I think we've only seen half. I think as the alpha improves, we're actually going to see it.
Are we starting predictions now?
We already did some. Joel had a couple, but I'm going to add this one to my list and just say that I think within a year of DayZ's retail box shelf, you know, box Steam, whatever.
Dude, that's like fall next year, though.
Yeah, I'm serious though. If we've hit 2.3 million in alpha, and if all of the stuff in the roadmap comes together, and the engine still feels that little bit of simulator feel, but with better controls, better zombies, with vehicles, with base building, I think 5 million is going to be definitely achievable.
I'm going to defend that statement, and I know I'm pulling a very rare scenario, but I'm gonna call out Minecraft for this. Minecraft was early access. It was alpha. It was beta. When it officially launched, it was just a regular day for Minecraft. I don't even know what the official launch day was. I've been playing Minecraft since alpha. And I don't even remember when it officially launched, but Minecraft is now the #1 selling PC game of all time. It sold 16 million copies, 16.3 million copies. And to say that a game is not moving quickly enough to support a growing fan base, there are still some major problems in Minecraft that just disappoint me that they're still there. Like boating and riding on horses, that's all handled client-side, just like a lot of the problems in DayZ. And that makes using boats or using horses in multiplayer virtually impossible. And despite that fact, Minecraft has a huge following because it provides something that no other game has been able to mimic yet. And I think DayZ, like Joel said, it's its own unique thing, and nothing else has been able to clone it yet. And so we've got H1Z1, we've got games like that are taking their own kind of stab at it. But for the time being, DayZ is this ultra-realistic attempt to put someone in a zombie survival situation where, if you step in a puddle, you're going to have consequences for that. Your shoes are going to get wet. I don't think any other game really gets to that level, and it's because of the framework that DayZ is sitting on the ARMA 2 and the ARMA 3 framework is what makes DayZ so unique that will continue to drive sales, maybe even 5 million, like Dave said. I think that's what's driving DayZ right now.
I think H1Z1 could do well, but I don't think it's going to have the same feeling as DayZ. And I think that just watching H1Z1, I might actually at this point go ahead and do early access for H1Z1 and easily play it alongside DayZ, because I think they're going to feel very, very different.
The only thing I was going to say, Daniel, is I agree with you. I think the one problem is as awesome as DayZ is, it's also a game that takes such a long amount of time to play, to experience things.
That's very
that
true.
like. I mean, you can also tell the player base is 100% different. It's 100% different. When we first started playing for the first like 3 weeks, it was amazing. It was really awesome. Everyone like didn't shoot on sight. People were like really cool because it was so exciting to meet someone in the game. But once you've done it, it gets old after a while, you know, and so people just want to do new experiences. And because DayZ is probably going to be one of those niche things where you have that awesome couple-month experience, but then the game, you know the game, you know how to play the game after that, and it doesn't, you'll never have that exact same experience as the first couple of weeks, because it's that one kind of thing. It's like going to a really awesome forest for the first time in real life. Once you go in there, you're not going to have that same exact wonder, like, whoa, this is amazing. You've been there already. So like even for just like, I know what it's like. I jump in, I spend 2 hours running. Hopefully we're going to find something. We might get in a thing. I might die, and all I've done in the last 3 hours is run and then get shot. You know? So I think once you've had that experience a couple times, I think people are ready to like look for something else. Like that may allow you to live a little bit longer, or, you know, be able to get to your friends quicker, because that's the best part of the game. So I think if they don't like innovate a little bit more and get things working really well, I think they're going to lose some player base once other games come out that give you that same sense of DayZ, but just might be more fun. Like, and I don't mean that in a douchey way, but like DayZ's fun because it is so pathetically hard at sometimes. You know, that's why I love Dark Souls, because it's like.
Right.
It's one of those, like, I hate you, you effing game.
Stalker was the same way for me.
Yeah,
it was the brutality that really drew me to it.
But once you play it the next time, you're kind of like, it's not as hard as the first time because I've done it already. I know how to play it. So it's like, I'm ready for the next big challenge. So we'll see.
I agree. You have a point there, Joel.
I hope it lasts around. Like, I mean, DayZ really has been one of my dream come trues of a game, at least from the beginning. But it's going away so quick, because it's like, I want to have an experience of real survival. I don't go looting around for 15 guns. I would never do that in real life. Like, I can't carry it on my back. Like, I want to be like...
I might do that in real life. It would probably be a bad thing. Like,
but like,
I'd be like, okay, I'm a little prepared. Can I be more prepared? Bet I could.
In real life, like, I think in real life, you'd be like, okay, do I want to run through this town in real life? Well, if my daughter's sick, I'm going to do whatever it takes to find it. I don't care if there's zombies. I don't care if I lose all my guns, you know? And that's where, like, when he originally said you might have a dog, or you might have a horse, or like for me, I always thought it'd be awesome in the game if you actually could somehow procreate in the game. Like, you had a kid, and what if a kid followed you, right? If a kid followed you, just think of this. Just think of this. In a game, if you had a kid,
why would you have to create the kid in the game? Why can't you just have a kid? Why is that necessary?
Joel, can you craft the kid? Is the kid crafted?
Just stay with me, guys. I like
so
games.
you're making a kid in DayZ.
I want
bag.
Obviously, that's I know that, but I'm just, I like, they could do it in a certain way, right? But I like really good.
No, there's only one way to get those.
Joel obviously does not know the recipe for crafting kids.
No, I learned that from your mom. Craft.
Oh,
there it is. I've been waiting
10 out of 10, Joel.
podcast.
I like it. I like it.
No, okay, so imagine you had a kid with you, right? Or there were kids in the game. And you go into a town, and then like some bandit guy captures a kid, and then does something horrible. As horrible that sounds, for me, I would enjoy the game because it's like, holy crap, this makes it more intense.
There's a point.
There's a point. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta risk something and do something. But now it's like, I don't want to die because I don't want to lose my revolver, you know, that I can find again in 20 minutes, you know. That's why I love Mass Effect. Like, when I would make a choice in the game, I would never reload, never save. I would keep that, because if I lost a character I really liked in the game, it made it really interesting, and that's why it stuck with me in the game, because I was like, oh man, I can't do that again. So you want to know my ultimate idea for DayZ? Is if you sign into the game, right? I think you should have multiple characters too, but your one character is, if you die, you can't play with that character until like a week later. You only get one character like a week. I think that'd be awesome.
There's actually, Joel, there's a
something
very deep discussion. where you know how
Or
we have
maybe
normal
once
and
a day.
hardcore?
Maybe once a day, honestly, would probably work. But like, if you die,
You know how we
you're
have
done.
the two hives right now, Joel? We have the normal and the hardcore hives right now. You're not actually the first one, obviously, to have that idea. There's actually a big push for there to be a third hive called survival mode, where when you die, you're blocked from that hive for, like you said, like at least 24, 48 hours. You're done. You can still play other modes, but survival mode, like, you failed. You lost the game for a few days.
Yeah, because it's like I was telling Dave earlier. Like for DayZ right now, for me, there's a percentage in my mind as I'm playing the game that goes, okay, I have like a high percentage rate that I could run right into Cherno, grab all these guns, just running out nilly-willy, probably get the stuff and get out just fine, and it only takes like 20 minutes. Or I can play the Dave way and spend 3 hours slowly making my way through town and
You gotta watch the town first.
Yeah,
Joel,
sorry.
Joel, you don't just crawl into the bushes first. First you hide in the bushes on the hill and watch. Then you crawl into the bushes closer.
Well, I could do that, and then I realized I just played 3 hours, there was no one in the town, and then I get shot right on the way out. So it's like, such a long waste. But I love that. I want the game to make me feel like that's what I have to do. I don't have the option.
I agree.
But now I feel like, no, I could just walk through because everyone's in the east or someone's over here. I want to feel like every town I could get completely murdered or captured. I want them to add more violent things in the game so that it pisses you off when someone, or like a friend of yours, gets captured. Or they decapitate him or someone, or put a head on a stick or something. Like, holy crap!
Already, that raw emotion's already there. The Wanderers video, I think it was mid-June or so, where me and Edgar were leaving Starry Sobor, and I like split off to go into the church because I lagged back a little bit, and Edgar, just outside the building that I was in, got robbed by 3 guys, and he's like calling for me to come help, and as soon as I ran out of the church, I turned the corner just in time to see Edgar prone on the ground because he had his gun up. They just executed him in the back of the head. Like, I turned just in time to see that. So, like, I'm actually, like, really mad about this. So I take out the whole group. Like, that raw emotion is already there where, like, you want to fight back.
Okay.
So more of that, sure.
James mentioned Heavy Rain. Have any of you guys played that?
No.
Jeremiah, if you get your PS3 fix, please play it. That's the epitome of emotional controlling, right? Like, they did a really good job at creating the controller into something very different for that game, right? There's a part in the game where you're supposed to like actually go through this little puzzle, like these electricity like wires, right? And to make the game hard, other than just like first-person controllers kind of angling through, you would actually have to hold the game like Twister, right? So it would say you have to hold the X button, the Y button, the under control button, click one in. But then they would add too many buttons that you literally couldn't press with your hands. You'd actually have to, like, I did it wrong, so I was like, I had no fingers left to hold it, and if you let go, you die. So I actually was using my nose to hold a button, and because of the situation was really intense, it made you really nerve-wracking. Like, you hurt your hands because you're like in this awkward position, but it gave you a semblance of that tense suspense in the game. And the main story is like your kid gets captured and he's going to drown
Spoiler
to death.
alert. Spoiler
It's the very
alert.
first summary of the game. It's the very first summary of the game. He's going to drown to death if you don't save him. And the things you have to do on screen, like physically watch and do, it's kind of horrible, but man, you really feel for the kid. Like, I've never been more angry, like in any game. Like, not even Dark Souls. You're just like so angry and you want to go save your kid because of the, horrible guy.
Congratulations, Joel. That's the first emotional connection I've actually, like, legitimate emotional controller connection I've heard you describe. So thank you for that.
If I ever described I told you guys before, my idea of the ultimate DayZ server or game mode for hardcore survival. You know which one I'm talking about, Dave?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
go ahead.
This is my idea of, like, if they want to be hardcore about this, if they want the game to really be such hardcore survival and they don't want to add the gaming elements back in, this is how I would do it and make it so people want to play it. Have a hardcore game mode, or call it maybe survival or something, that's, it's on one hive, it's synced across everywhere, so you can join multiple servers if you need to, but it's synced. And it starts out, the zombie invasion or whatever, the outbreak starts in the spring. And each week of real time is one season in the game. So when it starts, there are zombies everywhere. Everyone's turned at this point. So this is like right after the big turn has happened. It's just you and the other survivors on the server. And then there's hundreds of zombies. The parking lots are full of cars. All the grocery stores are stocked. Like, the thing just happened. There's zombies everywhere. So there's food everywhere. There's cars everywhere. Guns. Everything is awesome. if you die, you are out until the end of the month when it resets. On the first of the month, the server resets.
I would love that so
And
much.
so as it goes on, and then all the things I talk about, like
Dave.
cold and water and everything else, like it all becomes much harder. Towards like week number 3, you're getting into like, what are you doing, Joel? It gets into like you're pantomiming me.
And Dave, you should have seen Dave's face. He was like, I would love that.
I did use my serious face.
When you get
That's
into
my
like
serious face.
the winter, you're freezing cold. You're trying to start fires, but you don't want the light for anyone else to see you. Anytime you go into town, you have to worry about like, if I die, this is it. Like there are no second chances. There's no
yeah, I would love
food.
it.
You travel for 5 or 6 different towns.
You
can't
have
find
to
a scrap
fish.
of food. You have to fish. You have to hunt. There's no gas in any of the vehicles. All the vehicles
You
are
have to eat
destroyed.
animal crackers loudly on your microphone.
You've only seen 5 bullets in the past 3 days. Like, it's real hardcore survival. And if you
Yes.
live all the way till the end, I don't know. They give you a badge you can put on your Steam profile. Who cares about that? I would just think how excited you would be if you got all the way to the end and you lived through that. And
Now,
to
Joel,
count,
there we go.
You had
Fourth
to,
mode
you had to
DayZ
sign
right
on.
there.
Let's say to count, you had to sign on at least like 8 times. Let's say 8 or 9 times throughout the month. You had to sign on twice a week. You couldn't just sign out immediately and then coast till the end, or you had to rack up at least 20 hours of time.
Yeah, and if
in
you
that
didn't
game
play
mode.
for, I'd say, a couple days or so, I think your health and stuff should be down as soon as you log in. So you can't log in, you're at full health, and be like, play for 20 minutes and log out. Like as soon as you get in, it's like, crap, I gotta find food.
But to me, I'm totally fine with them doing the hardcore survival if they give me a reason why I should want to do that. And right now, I don't have that reason. Right now, I want to be able to pick where I respawn in the general area, and I want vehicles so I can go pick my friends up so we can have fun cruising around. I want the more gamey elements added because if they're going to go hardcore, I want them to really do it and make it super interesting. So, should we actually get into these DayZ predictions now?
Yeah, actually, I can segue from your thoughts there right into my first prediction. I've
Go for
got 5 here, and then you guys can just go around the circle and add on to it.
Sounds good.
Here's my 5 predictions. First one, by the time that we reach beta, hopefully sometime in spring of next year, the game will still have PvP and it'll still have zombies, but both of those elements will now be back burner elements. The primary focus from a development standpoint and the core pillars of the game will feature and focus around survival elements. Camp building, base building, crafting, hunting, repairing and maintaining vehicles, maintaining your health and your medical status, and all that stuff. I think that by beta will be the core of the game, and the PvP and the zombies will be like the accessories that make the game intense around those core elements. I think that's actually the exact opposite of how it is right now. Right now it's all PvP and I guess a little bit of zombies because they're always in the way. I think that's going to be actually a complete reversal. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm predicting by beta. Number 2, my hope is that by the time we hit beta, the new rendering engine, the new graphics engine, DirectX 11 and 10, will allow for light culling. So there will be a difference in the way that lighting is handled for interiors and exteriors. What that will do is buildings that have no light sources, it is the apocalypse, will be dark if they don't have windows. So you go into the piano house, that bottom floor that has 3 doors and no windows, you open that door and it's, the rectangle of light from your door is all you see. And you have to pull out your flashlight and search the building. And when you do, the flashlight does not clip through the wall. It culls that flashlight beam, which is actually apparently a very hard thing to do. A bunch of games actually have that issue. Battlefield 3 included. But that's my hope for the rendering engine. Third prediction, 100-player servers will be the sweet spot. I don't think we're going to see 150 just because the map's roughly 300 kilometers. I think 150 would be a little bit too crowded. As long as the spawns are spread out, I think 100 is about the sweet spot for servers. That's my prediction for server amounts. And plus, with memory overhead, with more stuff that they're adding, I think we're going to see realistically between 100 and 120 tops. Mm-hmm. And Joel, get ready. 4th prediction, desync will be much, much better, but will not completely be gone by beta. I think it's still going to be at least a slight issue, at least where you'll notice it occasionally.
It will be smooth, but every character will still be going like this.
And fifth prediction, the addition of mod support and private hives will once again spawn 1,000 different branches of DayZ, but
Most of which will work better than the standalone.
Hush, this is my time. But I think unlike the mod, where as soon as like Epoch and Overwatch and all came out, it's just like, look guys, take guns, take vehicles, and the vanilla mod kind of stopped getting updates for so long, and everyone just moved to the other branches. I think even after mod support and private hives, I think vanilla DayZ will do a lot better at maintaining its popularity from frequent updates and from just being a lot more fleshed out by the end. Mm-hmm. So it'll be more options, but like there won't be a mass exodus of the base game, I think, even with 1,000 vehicle servers or whatnot.
Right.
Those are my 5 predictions.
All right, I have 4 prepared.
Okay.
My first one, the new rendering engine, player controls, etc., like the big new major engine changes they've talked about, will not be functional or actually in place in a way you can really appreciate until holiday 2014 or early 2015 at the earliest. And then larger zombie counts will be my second thing. Larger zombie counts will be one of the last things added, and it'll be right before beta, and I'm saying beta is holiday 2015. The reason I'm saying that is I think every time they get some extra server bandwidth, they're going to use it for other things before they use it for zombies. I'm betting zombies now, they could probably, I don't know if it's as simple as a slider or a number they change, but I mean, the amount of zombies you can spawn, I bet it's pretty easy to turn that up.
Oh, don't worry, Joel knows how to repopulate the area with zombies. That's the feature he wants, apparently.
You and I are going to make the baby.
All right, this is my time, Joel. I think larger zombie counts will be one of the last things they add to it.
I think you're right.
Number 3, I think the vehicle system, when it's introduced, will probably be very interesting and unique among games that have vehicles, but it'll be very difficult to use, and it will not work properly until early to mid 2015. It'll be very buggy and difficult to use, and most people will end up going elsewhere and not using the vehicle so much. And then my 4th one, I think most of the cities in the game will be significantly different or significantly graphically updated by early 2015, because the art guys are just plugging away while all the core stuff is being done of the mechanics and everything. The art guys are just cranking out new stuff because, I mean, what else are they going to work on? That's what they're there for. So I really like most of the changes they've made to cities. It's kind of disconcerting to run to a city and be like, wait a second, this is all kind of new. But a lot of the new cities designs they've been doing are really good. I still want to see more variants in the buildings. I still want the towns to feel more unique, and I still think the map could get a lot more unique in different places. Think about it in comparison to like a Grand Theft Auto map where there's distinct sections of the map that feel very different. DayZ is mostly just kind of like woodsy forest with some mountains. Like, that's DayZ. That's Shinaris. And I wouldn't mind having sections of like, a wasteland section, a super rocky, hilly section, a very, very
no
swampy
forest area, dude. What if the forests are all just broken down, burned up, and stuff like that?
Yeah, just if I can, cool stuff like that.
If I can butt in for just a second, Jeremiah, sure. Those are 2 very good predictions, because both of the things you mentioned right here are things that the artists have already said that it's like on their whiteboard of things we want to do with our time in DayZ. One of them being every town, including the older towns, has a keystone element. Like in Novo, it's the town square with the giant, unique, town hall building. They want that for every town to have some unique thing about it that makes it stand out.
That'll probably be helpful for people to go, hey, I'm in the town with a giant monument.
Exactly. And then second of all, gosh, this is probably 4 or 5 months ago now, someone posted a couple of screenshots of Stalker and said, like, talking about environment stuff, what if we actually had to use our gas mask for certain areas? Like, what if there was like a chemical attack by the military to try to take out the infection in a certain town? So like one town, like all the trees are burned out and dead from this chemical and like maybe firebomb attack, and you have to use your clothes to get through certain areas. And they had like this cool little map drawn up, like, normal farmland here, go over the hill, and it's like a little bit of a wasteland area. I think it was Brian Hicks responded with, yeah, not to give anything away, but this is all things that we're looking at right now.
Mm-hmm. That's impressive to say they're looking at it, but they've said so many things they're looking at. I'm not going to get excited until it's experimental.
Well, I'm just saying you're making very good predictions here.
Okay,
for sure.
Honestly, I didn't know any of that when I made the predictions. This is just like
exactly. Yeah.
This is where I think it would be logical for the game to go and where I would like it to go. But yeah, I only have 4 predictions. Well, no, I have a 5th prediction, and you guys kind of disagree with me, so I'm okay to be wrong on this one. but I do think the player base is going to slowly dwindle unless there is a major shift. Like there's a major update, some big change, something game-changing, literally. I think the player base is going to slowly dwindle. And game-changing could be they finally figure out how to get rid of most of the exploits in the game, like the hacking and duping and whatever else. That would be a major game-changer. They figure out some way to make people actually want to work together. That would be a massive game-changer.
Like turning the power back on like to a substation or something. Or
yeah, they've tried that in some of the mod ones, and everyone just ignored it and kept killing each other. I mean, something where, like, you know, like, if you had 200 zombies in a town, and you knew, if I shoot this person, like, there's no way I'm getting out of this town alive. Like, this is it. If I shoot them, I'm signing a death sentence for myself. Then stuff like that, like, hey, I'm mad at you, you're trying to rob me, can we just agree to be cool for 5 minutes so we can beat our way out of this mess? You know, desperation, stuff like that. If they can really add any of that, I think it'll be a game changer and people will come flocking back to it, but I think the player base is going to keep dwindling.
Did I tell you my idea for how to do that?
I'm not sure.
One of the things I was saying is, like, the biggest thing that needs to be fixed is how characters communicate with each other. That it's very hard. Like, as soon as you come up on, I mean, like, Dave will find someone and immediately assume they're no good because, I mean, they might not have a mic set up. It's not like you can plug a mic in on a PC and it automatically detects. Like, if you're in a game, it kind of screws up and you have to change settings. So it's not a very quick thing to do, so most people don't bother if they don't have a mic. So if they're typing, they might not type on direct chat, all that kind of stupid stuff.
I understand people not having a mic. Who doesn't type back? Why do we keep running into people like that?
I've had it where I'm not on direct chat and I'm like chatting, like, what's not working? Oh yeah, I'm on direct chat. Like, you just got to switch those things. And here's the thing: do I either take my control off the mouse to type, and then I get shot while you're typing? You know what I mean? So I think if there was a really cool new way of, like, showing, hey, I'm friendly, not just a like that kind of thing. Like, even, like I told Dave, like, imagine if the chat actually would show up a little bit around your character, around the character that talked, if you're within the area. A little, like, icon would show up and a little something would say, like, oh, Dave's talking or someone's talking. And they could do a smiley face or something that would just add a little bit of personality to the character if they didn't have a physical voice or anything else. That would make the game just so much more interesting because you could go, he kind of seems like he's friendly, you know? And maybe not, but it's like it makes a quicker step to being friendly. Like, I don't know. It's like they're gonna have to.
I've actually used the little wave that's already in DayZ before to signal friendly, and actually had a positive encounter out of it. I think it was Joel. I was showing you that experience. What was that?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Joel, you were actually watching. I was showing you that experimental patch. I was in the clinic at Crysis, and it was on my lunch break at work. You know, I have a microphone at work. I turn the corner and there's a guy just, like, standing right there in the room, and I don't really have time to type, and I don't have a microphone, so I'm just like. He kind of looks at me for a second, and he's like, raises his hand too, and we just kind of parted ways. Like, I like the nonverbal communication that we've seen so far.
Yeah, but sometimes then you wave at somebody, and they wave at you, and then you both just stand awkwardly and go, hey, buddy, can you hear me? Hey, and they just stand and stare at you and then wave every once in a while.
It's a good first step.
And you start moving, and then they start following you, and you're like, well, I don't want this person just to trail me the whole time. And you end up killing them, like, after warning them to leave, and they're just like...
That's one thing where I think if DayZ does come to the PS4 or something, if they ever make it, you know, if the game gets finished and they have time to do that, I think you're gonna have a better chance for doing communicating because most people have the dedicated mics on it, and it's easy to just turn a mic on and not have it to, like, plug and play and all that stuff. Because they're all using the same system. You know, we're using Teamspeak, so we got to switch between that to Teamspeak, chat. Hey guys, be quiet. I got to hear the person talking. You know, I think if they can just come up with an easier way to communicate with people, like having the little messages or something near a person to tell who is speaking, you know, I think it's gonna be a huge deal. Like, just to be like, because you'll wave and they'll be like, all right, I'm running away. Well, like, what's gonna cause you to help? Let's say, hey, dude, come along with us. You know, like, there's not much of a need to do that yet. So it's not really a realistic game just yet for that one.
All right, did everyone give their predictions?
I
think Daniel's still got some for us.
Yep, we're ready for your predictions,
Okay, I had to plug my headset in. So I've got one qualitative and one quantitative prediction, and I've got one necessity. So I kind of scrapped out 3. I was a little unprepared today. So my quantitative, I expect by early spring, 3 vehicles max. If we see any vehicles at all, it's going to be 3. We're not going to see any air. We're not going to see any boats. It's just going to be vehicles because I think, Jeremiah, what you're saying, the fan base is going to leave for something else because a lot of fans are frustrated with how long it takes to get around. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to hack in 1 to 3 vehicles just to appease the crowd for a little bit while they finish that code. And personally, my priorities, I don't care if there are vehicles or not. I want them, but I want other things more.
Okay. What do you want more?
So my prediction is, I want a more robust exploit checking system. I want them to stop. I want them to stop spending so much of our bandwidth, and this is what causes so much lag, putting everything on the client side. I want them to focus on that, and I think that they will. Hopefully, that's my prediction. I would say that they're going to have to spend time finding a way, either outsourcing this or something, finding a way to validate that the client is not exploiting the game. And I think it's a testament to how bad the system already is based on the performance last night. Unfortunately, I missed it, but it's at a bad spot right now. And if they don't want to lose their fan base, they're going to have to do something about it soon. So those are my qualitative and quantitative. And one thing that I think is a necessity that probably might not necessarily be a prediction is they're going to have to find a way to modify the culture. And I know we just talked about this, and I'm just going to bring up 1 or 2 more ideas about it. I think one of the reasons that the F1 through F8 or however many there are now, the reason those keys don't work so well is because we might not trust them that you're going to put your hand up in time, because there might be a little bit of desync. So maybe it's going to take you 15 seconds to get your hand up, and by that point you've been shot. Yeah. So I think if they can work on the desync, which is what I'm asking for in the exploit checking system, if they can modify that, if we have a list of nonverbal communicative skills, Dave, I remember back in the mod, you ran into a Russian guy, didn't you? Or this is way back. Or he didn't speak English.
This is my first kill. Yeah.
Yeah, your first kill. And it wasn't even that the guy didn't have a mic. He had a mic, but he did not speak the same language. And
I was like, I don't trust you.
Right.
You can't communicate.
And at the time, there were no, I don't believe there were, it's been so long I can't remember, there were no nonverbal communicative methods. Nope. So I think, like Dave said, just the opportunity to raise your hand or to sit down, or maybe not just raise your hand in a wave, but actually waving side to side. I mean, we've got wiggling now. But what if instead of wiggling, we can actually wave a hand to say hello instead of putting up a hand that says halt, which is kind of what it looks like to me. You can wave to someone, and I think that's going to be one of the methods they can use to help shape the culture more towards a friendly environment, player to player. Unless you're really looking for blood, I think if they can modify the culture, make it easier to communicate, then it'll be a lot easier to find a friendly player. I think when we play together, I mean, it's not impossible to find a friendly guy. If you're friendly to them, they'll be friendly back most of the time. Mm-hmm. It's when you run up, gun up with eye on the sight, that's when someone knows you're looking for blood. And I think if you're playing that way and you're approaching every player with such caution, it's validated. But I think if you give a player trust, unless they're really looking for blood, they're going to give you a little bit of trust back. Yep. So I think it's also in the hand of the community to reshape the culture. So I think that's something that we as players can do as well.
And I also think by adding the zombies, by adding things that are more fun than killing other players, that's going to help a lot. Because, okay, in Destiny, you obviously can't kill players while you're in the Explore mode. There's 10 or 15 people you can run across all over the place. And it's crazy because, I mean, you press the D-pad, you can press up to wave, left to dance, one of them to point, and the other one to sit down. But because it works so consistently, it's kind of I mean, everyone in that game just feels so helpful. It's just hey, all right, I'll help you kill, because it's fun to help other people because you get experience or you get weapons and stuff. But in DayZ, you get almost nothing, out of it. What you get is a possible chance to die, and you just spent 2 hours running. So I think if you create a game that's more fun to work together, it's going to be, I think people are going to turn around and be like, hey, I want to help that guy because I might get better trading points or something. And I wish there was kind of an in-game economy somehow, because then you could
cool.
you know what I mean?
You get tipped in-game currency for helping people.
Something I was telling Dave, it'd be awesome if you could walk up to someone and you could actually get into an exchange, like a trade mode, and you just have a UI, and you could just like move a gun over, they can move a gun over, and then you can accept the trade, and then you're done. You know, things like that. But other ways you could just socialize with people in the game, because it is an MMO, you know? So it'd be cool to have those, then rather than like, here, put on the gun, it's under, glitch to the wall. You know, it's like, it'd be cool if you could actually physically, like, okay, in Animal Crossing, you can actually hand stuff to other friends, right? You give your trade of like peaches, apples, and stuff, but your character actually like takes it out of their backpack, hands it to their hands, they put it in their backpack. Like even having those would be cool in DayZ. Like, here, you can have my gun. You like hold it out like this, they can walk up, grab it from your hands. Like that would be cool. Just, I don't know, more interactions to make the game more friendly.
Daniel, did you have one more?
No, that was 3.
Okay. So there we go, guys. That's our DayZ predictions. Thank you for being here for this very long topic, but I think it was a very good one, and I'm glad we got back to doing topics after a couple of weeks without them. Now, before we wrap the show up tonight, we are going to move a little bit quickly just for time. But up next is 90 Seconds with Joel, part of the podcast where Joel talks about anything he wants for pretty much 90 seconds. So, Joel, lay it on us.
Okay. So I just want to show you guys how prevalent I am in what you guys do, just in your day-to-day lives, right? So last week's podcast, I was not even in the podcast, right? I was not there. I was, what was I playing? I was playing something and I ended up watching the stream for a second. But a friend, which I will not name, ended up listening to. I haven't even listened to it yet. But they put together a whole bunch of statistics for me. And just interesting, right? You guys could not go, on average, over the 71 minutes of the podcast, 1.5 minutes, you'd have to mention my name. My name was mentioned 47 times over that entire podcast. Just letting you know that Joel lives on in your hearts. or in your anger thoughts.
Be kind of like the Germans talking about Hitler a lot. You know? It's like, probably not quite like that, but... Alright, well, that's been 90 Seconds with Joel, a part of the podcast where Joel talks about himself for 90 seconds.
And strokes his ego.
And now it's time for Comment of the Week, where Dave puts on his waiter boots, heads out into the pig trough, and picks up some slop from YouTube and dumps it all on a plate in front of you. Dave, what do you have for us?
I think this is actually great after all this talk about, you know, adding more things to DayZ to allow friendly interaction and all that stuff, which I think everybody wants more options for stuff like that. But at the same time, one of the great things about DayZ is there are no rules. You don't have to use any of it. You can just kill that friendly guy who just helped you clear the town or who just helped you build like a hut out in the woods. You can murder him for his beans or for his pants that Joel probably needs, let's be honest here. So our comment of the week comes from someone whose last name is FBI, according to YouTube. It's a comment on our DayZ Epoch Episode 1, Make War, Not Friends. And he says, I hope you get banned for that. Is against the rules.
And we don't know for like what's against the rules. Now, I stole someone's chopper. We offered to trade it back to him on what turned out to be a friendly server. We all did a Halo dive out of the helicopter, crashed it, killed this guy and his friends, fought them in an APC, eventually all died, and then became friends with the people. I'm not sure which part of that we weren't allowed to do, but it was a lot of fun, and you can suck it.
Thank you. That's it.
Do you want to read the last one? That other comment?
I think actually I'm not going to read this last one because it was actually on the last podcast, and I think it was an attempt to get onto this section of the podcast.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna skip that one.
We're not going to humor them. We're not going to humor
That's
them.
right. It's too easy. Like Joel's mother.
Whoa.
Too far. All right, guys, that's been the podcast. Thank you, guys. Every time we tell you this, but thank you for coming out and listening to us and supporting us. It really means a lot. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Things are in the works. We're talking about right now what we're going to be spending some of the Patreon money on. It will definitely be making the podcast better, so stay tuned for that. You can follow us on Twitter, Casual Shenanigans, Evil Viking, Germ Gaming. You can write into the show. Please write into the show, whether you have a question or you just want to send in some fan mail. casualshenanigans@gmail.com. You can also tweet questions and stuff at us, and we will do our best to make them a part of the show.
You can send us anthrax in the mail, mainly
Nope,
Joel, who
can't
probably
do that.
deserves it.
Yeah, send us an anthrax email.
You can 3D print the anthrax.
If you would consider leaving us a review on iTunes or a rating, it does help push the podcast up in rankings. The podcast is steadily growing. I'm impressed every month when I look at the numbers, and then I lie to the rest of the guys and make them feel like we're doing well. No, but it's going well. We really appreciate it. The podcast is growing, and Iceman, when do you get your perks? You should be getting your perks on a consistent basis. If you're not getting something, please let me know, but everything should be, as far as I know, everything's working correctly.
What we have to do, Jeremiah, to really make the podcast grow and make people feel like they have to support us because we're just so awesome and big, is do like that one rapper did where he released a new album on iTunes, and then like an hour later he tweeted a photo of himself, like an Instagram photo of him on the phone, and he's like, guys, the album is selling like hotcakes on iTunes, the servers are going down, I'm on the phone with iTunes right now getting more servers, like I'm giving him the okay to add. Yeah. He's like, I'm on the phone with iTunes right now. We're adding more servers. You just keep buying that album. So, guys, the podcast is doing really well. We're talking to iTunes. We're going to get some more servers up so you guys can get the new podcast faster.
You don't leave ratings because the ratings, like if too many of you are leaving ratings and it's not working, so like you're swapping the service. No one leave ratings,
Yeah, can you guys just slow down on the ratings, slow down on the downloading, let some of the new guys get in and get the ratings in there. Just take it easy.
Not enough downloads for all of you.
Iceman, send into casualshenanigans@gmail.com. Confirm. You're a Twitch mod if you hadn't noticed, Iceman. So you are getting part of the thing. But I'm sorry if you're not getting the casual conversations. Send it to casualshenanigans.com.
You're missing so much stuff.
Your email address. Yeah, there are. You should be getting casual conversations. Send in your email address to us again in case I got it from you wrong the first time, because you should be getting casual conversations on. It's not quite a weekly basis. Some weeks there's a couple, and other weeks there's none, and it kind of evens out to 4 or 5 per month so far. So I can get you caught up on all the previous ones, and we definitely want to get you any others. Same goes for anyone else. If you're not getting any of the perks that it says on Patreon, please let us know. We are very appreciative of you guys supporting us. So if some of it's not working, let us know, and we'll do what we can to resolve it. But we do need to know before we can do that. But thank you to everyone for coming out and listening. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Evil Viking.
Thank you, Daniel Stillface.
Yeah, low connectivity problems tonight.
It's all right. But thank you to everybody for coming out. Thank you, the hosts. Thank you. I think that's enough thank yous. Okay. And with that,
10 minutes later,
you can all leave.